What's up, everybody? Welcome to Bushwick Bears Petty Crime Review. This week, we're talking, is it sex in public, or is it more specifically sex in a church?
It's sex in a church, for sure.
Sex in a church.
We were very specific with this one. And it didn't take place with children, but it did take place with our guest, Joseph Coker. Oh, yeah, we have a cutout of Jericho. Jericho.
Yeah, our third host, who's away right now, but he's back next week, but then I'm away next week, so we're recording too with his cardboard cutout.
Everybody is leaving the Bushwick Bears production except me. I'm the only one committed, so I hope I'm the fan favorite.
I'm back in 2 weeks. No, you're not going to be the fan favorite, because the fan favorite is going to be our guest today,
Hey.
Joseph
Coker.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for doing it. You are new.
You're new to comedy.
You're new to New York City.
You're new to
Yes.
comedy. You just started yesterday.
Yes.
You're a
And
veteran of comedy, and honestly, a veteran of a lot of things. You should have a podcast. Do you have a podcast?
I had a podcast, and I just eventually hit a point where I was like, "What the fuck am I doing?" I don't know. I ran out of steam.
Huh?
Well, I did it, and it was the best episode. But like aside from that, I could see where it would be a real downfall.
Yeah.
No,
Well-
I'm kidding. It was a fun podcast to do, but it is. I had podcasts outside of this one, and it gets to like if you lose your esprit de corps for it, it's like it is. It just feels too much like a chore.
And
Yeah,
without
at
an
that point.
audience, it's so hard to get the actual connection of the serotonin from doing it, sort of.
Well, also like in a small town, everyone I'm interviewing is like other open mic comics. I'm like, "So, man, what's the scene like these days?"
Yeah, yeah.
How's that 5-minute set treating you, buddy? Yeah, man, game's tough out here. You know, like,
Yeah,
nothing to talk about.
Yeah, Joseph is from Charleston, South Carolina, and did comedy there, but not ever. We didn't have any overlap, not concurrently. I left
right.
before you started, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, when things went down in Charleston, that's when Joseph went up. And we met through comedy, of course, and whatnot. Now you're up here experiencing the weirdest version of New York I've ever been
What a
in.
fucking time!
It's
Yeah.
such a weird time.
What a time to move. I want to ask for insights, but it's not like you have experience moving to New York not during COVID. So it's probably like what's normal, right? And what's because of this.
Yeah, I don't know. The first month I was here, I stayed in a room of a friend who's like an old lady, and she's very COVID careful. So I spent probably like 23 hours a day indoors, which was just a weird way to start
Living in New York, yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
really anything, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Right, yeah.
I mean, it was fine, but it was just weird. I was like stretching every day. I was getting all flexible and shit.
Yeah, because when I first moved here, I lived in the Bronx, and I stayed with a buddy in the Bronx, and I would take the Metro North, because that's how it was, basically Yonkers, into the city. I didn't have any idea of what was going on. I'd only been to New York for a total of like 96 hours my entire life. And so it was all just like a thing of discovery, but we weren't shut down during a pandemic. So like it must be weird to show up and just be like in isolation, because every media image of New York is the crowded streets and the bustling stuff to do.
But I never had like that deep like fascination with New York culture. Like some people are like, oh man, I watched Friends growing up. This that whatever big city type things, and I never loved it. I've been in New York a couple times. It's just hot or cold, and just wasn't having a great
And
time.
it smells as
Yeah.
both.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have horse piss. Y'all have like regular piss in the streets.
We got
Yeah.
horse piss up
Yeah.
in Central Park. As a veteran of working in Columbus Circle, I could tell you that.
That's fair.
So we're talking petty crimes,
Yes.
and petty crime. I know what it specifically is, but is there a general name for what this would be?
I don't know. It's got to be a crime somehow.
Spoiler alert.
I'll tell you, it's a moral crime. That's for sure.
It's a crime against
As
the
a-
Lord.
as
Does it ruin the story if I say what it is now?
I don't think
No,
so.
okay, so it's having sex in a church, not with a priest or a child,
Yes,
mind you.
Yes.
That's what makes it different.
Yeah,
and
Well,
interesting.
Gray area.
let's not bury the lead. Are we sure it's not with a child? Like,
yeah.
I
I'm pretty
mean,
sure.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Who checks ID in a church?
Yeah. I mean, really, old enough to tithe, old enough to have sex.
Well, it's weird because I had the keys to the church, so it wasn't even
Didn't even
breaking.
rhyme.
and
All right, go
entering.
on.
Yeah.
I relate to this in a different way. This will be funny, but okay. So we'll start there. How did you have the keys to a church?
Well, I played music before I did stand up, and I was wanting to have a place to just write songs. And there's this old like dead church in my neighborhood, and they're like, "Hey, we have a piano. You can come play." I was like, "Great." I think I might even paid $100 or something. And I just had a key, and I'd go there 24/7. It's a weird, creepy church. And then
How old were you?
This was like 6 years ago. This wasn't that long.
Jesus.
This
Yeah.
wasn't that long ago.
All right, go on.
But like with churches, there are some churches that are very vibrant and big, and everything's happening. And there are other churches where this is just a giant waste of money. Like, this is a giant building that's worth millions that no one uses for any reason.
I got one across the street.
Exactly.
There's like 3 weddings a year, and then the rest of the time, I'm pretty sure this fucking priest got a mansion in the middle of Brooklyn.
Exactly. So why not have sex in it is what I'm saying.
I'd say the only reason that I wouldn't is not because I care about the church organization, but I care about the people who believe in it still. And
Yeah.
I don't want to be like the mischief maker who fucked where you got your fucking kid's communion.
Yes.
Yeah, but
And I'm listen, and I'm not going to tell you that I'm saying I'm a better person or whatever the case may be. I just wouldn't do that because I'm respectful of others. But
I would. Let me be frank. I would do it. Go on.
Yeah. No, well, I don't know. The thing is, I didn't plan to do it. Like, my entire time in Charleston, I lived in Denmark, and I moved back home, and I spent 8 years having a business teaching kids. And so you cannot fuck around when it comes to
this
teaching.
is where you found the. I told you, don't bury the lead.
You can't mess around. And like so many women, their fantasy is to like have sex in public. I don't know. I think they just want to walk on the wild side with being a dirtbag. But for me, that makes me too nervous. I'm so afraid of like, even if it was like my wife, if we're like fucking in a van and then some cop shows up, I just look dirty because I'm a kid's teacher.
Right.
I can't get away from the trouble it would cause.
Yeah, I see. It's like, or like being a local cop, anybody who's supposed to have some public air of responsibility.
Yeah. People want to think of your body as the thing that like pats their kid on the head and not the thing that like slaps a girl.
Yeah, they don't want to think about you in that context at all. But,
Exactly.
hopefully mature adults would be able to, see that you're a multidimensional human being who has a sexual side. But,
Hell yeah.
what a fucking creepy way to put anything. But, wait, so you were saying this, you were justifying this as a reason why the stakes might be higher for you to be having sex in a church, or why? Well, how does that
Yes.
relate?
Well, because like I would never have sex in a car. I would never have sex like in a bathroom. Cause it's just. But we're in a 10,000 square foot building at 2 a.m. Like it just seemed like there's every
but
time.
on a stack of Bibles.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
with a candle. So
Right.
like whatever.
Yeah. No, I mean, okay, so I when I lived in Charleston, I worked for a company that, like, if you did something a moral question like that, you get fired, because like
The hotel.
yeah, because they're such like a public place. Like people would get like, I remember they fired a fucking couple of chefs because they got drunk in like downtown and like created a scene or some shit like that. They didn't get arrested or nothing like that, but it was like, you ruined our fucking public image or whatever.
They didn't get arrested. They got canceled before it was even a
They
thing.
got fired. And I don't know all the, I mean, like, I know some of the circumstances of it and whatnot, and it's like, it didn't discourage. I still did like bad behavior that if I had been found out, me and whoever else would have been fucking fired, but we just didn't get caught, which is like the big thing. It's like, just don't get caught. And it's not even about whether it's like right or wrong, like, again, like, it's, you're going to do what you're going to do. It doesn't matter if like,
Have y'all ever
I
had-
think it's right or wrong.
Have y'all ever had sex in a public space?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. So to make sure, yes.
Yeah, but like, oh, sorry.
He was lying. That's how I know
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
lying. He's doing
No, I
this
was
poker
scratching
test.
my eye. No, trailer parks are in the public.
Public domain.
Yeah, those are public domain for sure. Anyways. So, yeah, I know, but the church itself isn't technically a public space. And I grew up religious, I would, to call myself religious would be, I think, a little bit of a misnomer, but at least scared of the concept of God.
Guilty.
Guilty, sure. And like I still to this day it's not like I think God's looking down and being like, I'm so upset. I'm not a fucking child, but it's like it is more of like trying to be somewhat fucking respectful. However, in recent years we found what denominate it was like a Mega Millions church.
This was like
it's like a Joel Osteen.
This was like some kind of non-denominational
who
cares church.
But like
the ones that didn't deserve it.
I went to Catholic church, and like that's like clearly they give no fucks. Like they, they won't have sex in the church.
Yeah,
but
if they're fucking, why shouldn't you be able to?
Well, they're not having sex in the church. They're diddling boys in the mall bathrooms.
Yeah, they can't say anything. You can do whatever you want in a Catholic church, right?
Right. Yeah. And like. So like my junior high principal, he used to be a deacon or a father or whatever in the Catholic Church, and then he molested these kids. They found him out, and so instead of him going to jail, he was just put in charge of public school kids. Because it's like, well, these Catholic school kids got paid money to go there. Let's put them around the poor kids instead. Let's tempt them with some trash.
I have a story that uniquely connects both of yours. So when I was in high school, I would take my girlfriend at the time, and we would have sex at where I had the keys to, which was a music school in Metuchen, New Jersey. And the reason I had keys to this school is because I'd been hired at, I think, like 15 or 16 as a guitar teacher at this school. But the way that I got that job, entirely unqualified. Like, I was pretty good at guitar, but I went to the school to take lessons to learn more theory. And there was a recital, and I was further ahead than most of the other students. And all of a sudden, the teacher was gone. They switched teachers like 3 times. They had trouble keeping a teacher. They had one that was like taking the train from the city. And the most recent one looked just like Gene Wilder and was like a little bit weird, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it. And so one day I get a call, and the music director, the school director, knows me because I'm Russian, and I helped, and she was Russian, so she already like kind of favored me, and I helped make their first website on GeoCities. This is like, way back in the day.
Yeah, wow.
And so I got them online, and so she calls me, she's like, can you substitute teach tomorrow? It was like, I think it was like $24 an hour or something.
That's great.
Yeah, and then when I got hired, it went down because she was like, now that we're hiring you permanently because you weren't subbing, it was like either 18 or 20, and eventually I was making 24 again. But so I substitute. She's like, oh, you did good. Can you come back whatever day? And I'm like, okay, but what is going on? And then finally the third day, I see in the papers, I think, and then ended up talking about it, that this guitar teacher got arrested for sexually molesting one of the younger students.
Oh, man.
And he'd done this before, apparently, as a piano teacher at another school. And what had actually happened was he was like inappropriately touching this, like, I don't know, 14-year-old girl or something in a way that made her uncomfortable. She told her mother. The mother asked to sit in on a class, and in the class that the mother sat in on, he bought her a tank top as a gift and asked that she try it on while he turns around and faces the wall.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned, oh, my God.
Yeah.
That one, that guy rules. What what kind of balls do you have to just like have to be like to know that, all right, this girl's mom is here?
It's
But
crazy.
You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and throw suspicion off. I mean, like, when you try this on, I'm just gonna turn around at the wall.
Yeah,
and look at the wall.
he's what they call a bad pedophile, meaning like he's bad at it,
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's I can't tell if he was just so cocky or if he's just so stupid that
or something else, right?
Yeah, he thought that would throw suspicion off. Let me buy her a gift.
He's what you might call an
Sexy gift.
intersectional version of mental disorder. Yeah. Like, he doesn't necessarily just have one. There's an intersectionality of pedophile and maybe just like low
crazy
IQ or
guy.
something. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it could just be a stupid guy.
But thanks to that, I was teaching guitar at like 15 or 16 for like 20 something an hour and I was like terrible. I used to get drunk and like show up hungover. I remember vomiting behind the school.
Damn.
I had keys. I literally sat on the copy machine and photocopied my ass and balls because I was like, but I got access to this thing. I'm here by myself.
He
What-
bought a tube top for a 14-year-old.
The job just changes you.
I would be afraid to sit on a copier, even in my teen weight. Like, what if you fell through?
Yeah,
That's
that'd
gotta
be
be
bad because I feel like
devastating.
I've seen video of something like that.
There's
but
no way to
no,
lie about that.
well, I felt how much weight I was putting on it. But yeah, and then the worst part is I had photocopies of like my ass and balls in the trunk of my car forever because I'm like, what am I gonna do with these? And then eventually I like found a dumpster or something and tossed it. But I just held on because I was like, it feels weird just spreading photos of my asshole to somewhere.
And that you throw them in the dumpster and the guy's car just like pulls up.
Just been waiting to
These
collect.
are still good. Yeah, this is still good.
That same teacher.
Yeah, exactly.
So, what type of horror agreed to go along with you in this church campaign?
One that I loved, Derek. We were in love. That's why you do the worst things. We didn't even.
It is true. You do the worst things for people you love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just when you're both drunk. But go on.
We were completely sober. We had no plan to do it. I think I was just dropping something off. And then she came in with me, and just one thing led to another. And, like, as someone who used to be, like, super religious and everything was super duper holy, it's kind of fun to live on the other side where, like, I really don't think Metallica is leading kids to hell. Like, you know what I mean? Like, maybe you can wear a black T-shirt or an upside-down cross. It
You
doesn't
really
matter.
went from Metallica isn't leading kids to hell to fucking in the place
Exactly.
of God fast.
I'm a quick learner.
Yeah.
No, so I think that was part of the fun was just to be like, yeah, this is silly. It's silly to
This
think.
could mean nothing if we choose that it means nothing.
Yes, this is a carpeted room with really good air conditioning. It doesn't,
Which is clutch.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So, this person, I mean, how did you who are they in relation to you specifically? Or are you not able
What's
to
their
know?
full name? And where,
Yeah, where do
can
they live
people-
now?
Can you dox them?
Can you group? Can you group message?
Well, no, I
us?
want more details of the story because we've just been dancing around like the vagaries of it.
No, well, we'd been dating for a while, so
Okay.
we've been together for a while. So I think you're kind of that phase where we hadn't like completely given up on sex, but we're also like not so new that everything was cool. So you're in that middle ground where you gotta try to like hit
Keep it
some
exciting.
highs. Yeah.
Right,
You
yeah.
trust each other, but you're gonna try to do some weird shit, kind of.
So
Okay.
Yeah.
was this the only time you ever did it?
Yeah.
Okay.
See, that would be also like the other thing. As soon as we finished, it was fun. It was sexy, whatever. And then we went. I was like, I've never looked to see if they have cameras. It's like,
Uh-huh.
Yeah, oh,
Yeah.
good point. You would
so
think they would.
Stupid. Yeah. Luckily, it was like, I think it's just like a church that was about to close. They didn't have like camera money.
Right.
But like a nice church nowadays wouldn't do it.
Yeah, they must. They must have cameras.
Absolutely.
What if Jesus comes back? You got to catch that on video.
Yeah, I bet he was watching.
I actually I want to have sex on top of Joel Osteen's Bentley, and I want the dash cam on. I want that fucking loser to see what I think of him and his perversion of fucking Christianity.
He's a weird guy, right?
He is a fucking psychopath.
There's a lot like him, though, right? There's a lot of like mega rich church
Oh yeah,
leaders,
yeah,
right?
yeah. With T.D. Jakes and
Creflo Dollar.
Creflo Dollar.
Yeah, that's a guy's name. Creflo Dollar.
And
Yeah.
he's a minister.
Yes. And he has a
Yeah.
private jet. of
Now, by
course,
the way,
yeah.
because I don't know that much about this stuff, a minister is something you can just self-title, right? You
Yes.
don't need to
Yeah.
like go. But for a priest, you need to like go to school.
To be a real, like a Catholic priest, Episcopal priest, you have to go to school. But I'm a minister because I performed a wedding.
Oh, well,
Whatever.
then I'm a minister too. I haven't performed a wedding, but I registered with the Universal Life Church when I
Well-
was like 18 or something.
Well, there you go.
I had sex with a young person. I'm a minister. We're going by all the qualifications
We all
of the Catholic
arrive
Church.
at ministership differently.
that
Yeah,
checklist.
yeah. Then I definitely am a part of the church as well. Yeah, there are a lot of like formalities within the Catholic Church and everything like that, and it's so predicated on being guilty and shame-filled and all that sort of stuff that like I don't hold it against anybody who rebels in like that sort of capacity or anything like that, even if it's like not purely an act of rebellion or whatsoever, because they have been robbing people to some degree
Oh my
for
God,
years.
yeah. Like
They're billionaires. They're the richest like organization.
Real
They're the-
estate holdings company, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I
Fine
mean,
art.
that's, yeah. And that's where, and even like Christianity or Catholicism, excuse me, modern Catholicism was born of like the Crusades, which were like horrific,
terrible.
It's like what we send troops to the Middle East to combat their crusades. We did that too.
If you had kids, Derek, would you raise them in the Catholic Church, even though you don't really care? No.
Excuse me. No, I wouldn't raise them in the Catholic Church, but I wouldn't raise them without church entirely. I suppose. I don't know. It depends on what my wife has to say about it.
I'm going to raise my kids on the multiverse theory.
Some Star Trek shit.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think to some extent, like, there are certain things I've discovered over the years that are preached through Christianity that have been proven to be true for me. So I don't think it's a thing that everybody has to live by in order to be successful. I just go by, like, what I found to be to work for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the getting up on Sunday, like all my friends, so like, I was kind of very religious when everybody was going crazy in their 20s, and then now I'm like kind of living my own life, and everybody's like, people become more religious as they get older a lot of times. They have kids, whatever. But it's so funny, like I saw someone posting yesterday, and they're like, oh man, I was raised in the church and Southern gospel, this and that, and I'm just so glad to raise my kids. And like I hear what they're saying, and I believe them a little bit, but have you ever had to wake up to go to church? It's the worst. It's misery. I don't know why.
Do you think it's like a circumcision thing? Like, happened to me and it's happening to them too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You just assume.
I'm not even sure if it's good or bad or not. I'm all right. I'm all right, right?
Yeah.
If I'm not all right, then I won't do it to him.
Yeah, that's right. Let's have matching traumas. No, but I don't.
Physical and psychological.
Yeah, and dick traumas. No, but I don't. I remember I worked in a church and I fucking hated going to church sometimes. So it's like I don't believe people when they're like, oh man, I love waking up my son at 8:30 on an off day.
Yeah, it seems like one of those things you have to convince yourself to do, because you have to look at it as like I'm doing this like chore in order to meet this other objective, not so much like I don't know, some churches I've been to that are non-traditional, they seem to have like some good fellowship and whatnot and some good exchanges.
Or like a black church where there's good
yeah.
music or something.
Oh, there's amazing music.
Hey,
Black church, that makes me cry. Like, fellas, it's so. That's how I got into playing lap steels, because freaking sacred steel. It's a type of black church music. Yeah.
There you go.
That's how I got into dressing like a nun.
Is watching Sister Act.
Yeah.
Oh, happy day.
So, that's so funny that you play the musical instrument from the Girls Gone Wild theme.
What?
Yeah, the girls, remember Girls Gone Wild? That fucking they had the steel drums. That was their theme music. Was
well, he's saying lap steel guitar.
Oh, I thought you said flat steel drums. I was like, you mean like Soldier Boy?
You combine lap and steel drums into Girls Gone Wild.
That is funny. Why do you know that? Why do you remember that?
Because I grew up watching TV.
I mean, there were
90s.
commercials
there
for
were
Girls Gone Wild.
Oh,
yeah, all the time
constantly.
on MTV, constantly.
All the time.
Yeah, after 10 o'clock, which is when I would watch MTV, because that's when I got home from like my job at Kmart and see all the fucking Girls Gone Wild content. And you know what? It rocked. And and thank you for the internet.
I would fuck those girls in a church.
Those women are 50 now. Gotta be. Right?
They all have like kids
Yeah.
and stuff. Yeah. I've seen some of the wildest whores ever turn into moms.
That could be honestly
through the
kind
magic
of
of social
Thank
media.
God.
that could be a fun like sketch, like Girls Gone Wild. Where are they now? As long as it doesn't, like, it could also be depressing.
Yeah. They're all dead.
More likely, well, see,
the mass grave.
that's the thing about the church aspect. It's like, I don't want to scare my kid into being a good fucking kid. I don't want them to be like, hey, if you're not good, like, you're going to go to hell. But it's like, hey, if you don't respect yourself, if you don't look at like because I used to be the type of person who was like, I need the constant instant gratification, and it has got me fucking like really nowhere in life, honestly. I mean, like, so I would just caution my kid against that, and like, look, it's not like you're gonna go to hell. You're not gonna get poked to death by the devil forever. As far as I fucking know, it seems unreasonable to think that. However,
Yeah.
people who do this sort of shit and go down this path, and you watch any porn documentary about any of these girls now, and they all fucking regret it. They hate their lives. They're like mentally ill, you know, they're dead. And it's like,
Or they're millionaires. Those are the three.
yeah, but they're dead inside, you know, or they're just bad actors. And so, and you know, like, there's only so much real concrete happiness that like money is going to bring you. I mean, money makes your life better. There's no fucking denying that, quality of living and whatnot. But like, just because you have money doesn't mean you're fulfilled.
Yeah, but if they were sitting on a pile of money still, most porn stars, like, they're like NBA players. They just blow all their money. If they still had that,
If they
money,
invested it wisely.
Yeah, exactly.
Started, I bet a bunch of them do start their own production companies and stuff
Sure.
like that if they know the business. If you actually fall into life where that's where it lands you, and you're an intelligent person that's like otherwise, you know, okay, you're not like on. I'd be making too many generalizations, but like whatever. If you got drug problems, whatever else that might come with being in porn, you probably like. Yeah, set up your own business, make a production company, and fucking
And then
retire.
Turn some other girl into the nightmare version of what you were before.
Pay it
and
forward, baby.
And it's cyclical. And it's just kind of like, I mean, I'm not like going to pretend like I'm a good person and I haven't looked at porn or whatever, but it is like, I feel far less compelled to do such a thing when I remove like my own personal ego from that level of like sexual interaction, you know, because it's all about extrapolating something for yourself from somebody else without having to make any level of investment in them.
Would it help you, Derek, if you're watching porn, if you pretended like you loved her?
No.
Would that make it better?
No, because it's never these things. Well, one, I guess you kind of have to, because most of the porn that I see when I see categories, it's inner family. For some reason, it's like stepmom and stepsis or real sis. I mean, I know it's not, but I mean, like the fact that people like
I know it's not his real sister.
No, but the fact that people are like that's what
Right, that's what people want to see.
One of the first porns I ever saw was Debbie Goes to Dallas. It was in junior high, and like it was the OG porn on a tape, right? And it was like people were like having sex in football uniforms, and they were just like having fun. Like Dave Attell's show. Oh, Dave's old porn that used to be on HBO, I think. It was like, hey, back in the day, it was just like a couple people like having sex for fun on camera. And now it's like, you want to fuck your mom, don't you, you degenerate fuck? You want to shit in your mom's face and then come on it? You fuckhead. Watch this video. Yeah. And it's like, Jesus fuck, what are we?
And that's all happening in a church.
We're just devolving, like, as a fucking species. I mean, there is something statistically and scientific when, like, people start to get involved in incestuism. That's a bad sign for society. That's a category.
It is supposed to be against our nature.
It is. I mean, no, it absolutely is. I mean, look at all. Yeah. I don't want to start comparing cultures or anything like that and make it seem like I'm like whatever, but there are certain places in the world that haven't evolved like to where it's like safe for women or safe for people in society, and a lot of it is the incest is happening concurrently. I think there's a fucking correlation.
Well, I don't know.
They got that in some communities in Brooklyn, if you can know.
Right, no, absolutely. That might be what I'm hinting at. But
I can say it, you can't say
that's
it.
right.
I don't know, like, 'cause I read one time, I don't know if this is still true, that Japan produces the most like assault, rape, fantasy porn in the world out of any other country, and they have one of the lowest instances.
Orderliest societies.
Yeah. Well, they have one of the lowest instances of rape in the modern world as well. So, I grew up being taught that there's like a direct correlation to like these things, and maybe there is, maybe there isn't. But there's also sometimes it's the other way. Like you look at a country like Germany, they're compared to America, they produce like this. They're number 2 in the world for producing porn or whatever. But they're pretty easy place to live, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not right now. They're kind of fucked right now during coronavirus. But yeah, that's interesting because I feel like it can go both ways. Like, I guess art, you would call art, is the art form or the artistic expression or like entertainment. I guess it maybe is closer to that. Is it a sign? Like, it's the same joke for like the same deal for like comics who are known to make rape jokes, and some people want to correlate that to being an actual bad person. Meanwhile, you got like clean comics that get arrested for rape.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, Cosby. Fucking. What was that guy? Vince Champ.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vince Champ was the big one in the '90s. He was like. He beat Patton Oswalt in some contest, got booked to do all these colleges, and then seemingly every college he went to, there was a rape.
Jeez.
And so then they finally fucking caught up with him or whatever. And it's like, Daniel Tosh makes a fucking rape joke at the Comedy Store, the Comedy Factory, whatever was where he was at, and they like try to remove him from society.
Yeah, it didn't stick, and also like for all the incentives to maybe to have someone bring up otherwise, I've never actually heard anything bad about him as a person.
That's something
I've heard. I've heard he's really cool. I mean, he's. I've talked to a couple comics who've done rooms in LA, and he's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And whenever he shows up, and he shows up unexpected, and they're like, "We'll put you up wherever," he will ask whoever comic it is, open mic or not, is it cool if I go up? Yeah,
it's classy.
And I mean that's super
common.
fucking classy, and it's like, I mean, he doesn't have to do that at all. You know what I mean?
No.
And it's and I appreciate that he does. And so it does go back to like. We always talk like it to some extent, some philosophy of like if like you should be able to like give people the most ability to make their own good decision that they can. Just hope that they kind of do, because like when you force people to make that like a decision against their own will, it just incentivizes them to do the opposite thing
or to lie about it.
Yeah, and you just
Right.
don't know where the morality is actually at when you're. It's not really good if someone's not getting the choice to be good. That's kind of getting into like religious philosophy a little bit there.
I feel like I do this on podcasts where I bring it into church by accident. Like,
Well, no, this was on
Well, no, you brought
purpose,
it literally
'cause
in
This
church.
story was about fucking in church.
I do the but seriously energy. I don't know why.
This is why you're
No,
here.
it's fine. No. One of us, especially me, always ends up doing that in every episode, anyways, because I'm always so fired up against people who are like people in comedy who are like totally fucking cool with laying down and being a fucking simp for the man, in some capacity or another. And I just can't fucking stand it. And it's like, we don't support, like, we've had people who are like extreme right-wing fucking comics have messaged us to either, or me individually, to like do our show, do either this podcast or like our live show when our live show happens. And, I or we or somebody might have politely declined, because it's like, as much as we support your right to be racist, we don't want to support it directly with our show.
Do I know who this is? Because I don't know if I know who this is.
And, yeah, I'll tell you after. I mean, it's been a couple.
Have you ever met like a comic who's like truly racist, like or you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't do a show with Boris because he's Jewish or whatever.
No, I don't. Well, I think those are two different things. I think there's definitely racists among comedy, just like there's racists among life.
Sure.
But I can't imagine meeting a comic that's like, I will not do a show. That would be somebody on the left, if anything. I can't imagine a comic that's even actually racist on the right that would morally not do a show with someone because of an immutable. It's just bad for you. Who's turning down stage time? Who's so racist? Who's so racist that they're
so
passing
funny.
on stage time?
Right. I don't know any. I don't associate with anybody in my life who is like racist, right? And by that I just mean like the central theme to their life is that they think because they are one color, they're automatically superior to another person in every facet.
Yeah, they have a flag over their window.
Right. Yeah. But I know comics from different ethnic backgrounds who have said racist things either in the service because they thought they were being funny, which they found out they weren't or whatever, or because like they were frustrated by something or some situation like that. And it's like, rather than it's one thing to call it out once. If it's a consistent fucking thing, then fuck that fucking person. I don't associate with that person anyway. So it's like, I don't necessarily like worry about that. Conversely, there is somebody, speaking of like the left sort of thing, there is somebody who was famous who was very anti-Trump or whatever, blah, 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 who hit us up to do our show. And this person's famous. And they have such a bad look about them that like I didn't ignore their fucking message because like you're also a shitty fucking person too. I don't care what your fucking politics are. Like you've been fucking shitty or like you are a douche, you know.
You're gonna have to fill me in on who.
I don't care how many superhero movies you've been in. Anyways,
Still not sure, but I'll find that out later. Back to so sex in church and did I ask this already? Did you come back and do this multiple times, or was it a one-time thing?
It was a one-time.
It was a
one-time thing, but it was really dirty. It was. We made it count. It was pretty disgusting. There's like the chair where the minister sits was involved, and plastic candles, and it was bad. It was like let's go all the way to hell.
Yeah, I mean that's not the most. I don't. How vindictive is God if he puts you in hell for anything like that? It's such like I like Jesus. He's a good reboot there because
it'd be petty. It'd be very petty.
Very petty. Yeah. Jesus was the unpetty God because he's like, well, you did all this terrible stuff. I still forgive you for it. You're still like my child sort of thing. Whereas like old school God was like, I will put you in hell.
Yeah, Old Testament God turn you to sand for that kind of shit.
Yeah, Old Testament God let a prophet call a bear to kill some kids one time because they made fun of him for being bald. That's in the Old Testament.
Yeah, I believe it.
I would love that power. When you said it at my first book show.
My hairline's receding. We'll see about that.
I'll never have to worry about summoning any bears
Yeah.
because I've got a full head of hair at my advanced age. So I am doing A-okay. God, it was pretty petty for sure back in the day. And I'm glad that Jesus came along so that we could have crusades to kill tons of people, tell everybody how cool he was. That seemed like it's like we do like the Old Testament God, it was like, all right, God's real. We should act real peaceful and everything like that, you know, or else he'll smite us. Now, peaceful God comes along. We better kill everybody now. How cool he is. Humans just fuck everything up, man. I feel like we just screw it all up. You know what? I changed my mind. I'm happy you fucked in a church. Who cares?
He won you over. He just went from a 1 bear to 5.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that because I still want to get into heaven. But
what's the most inappropriate place that you have had sex?
I mean, like at a job, but I mean, it was a lodging establishment. So I mean,
that's fairly appropriate.
You would think, but I guess the circumstances of it, not so much.
Was there a priest share and candles involved?
Yeah. Maybe that wasn't. Now that I really think of the circumstances, I mean, we're consenting adults, whatever. I mean, so what if we were at work? It was like our free time.
Were you on the clock?
I was salaried at that point. I'm technically always on the clock there.
I see.
Yeah, which is part of the reason I quit. So like, you never fucking escape. Salary in a beeper. Or a salary in a fucking BlackBerry, like that's a prison sentence.
Did you keep the BlackBerry on while y'all fucking?
Yep.
Hold on, I'm gonna set a new ringtone.
She did too. So I mean, like whatever. We're both like
your BlackBerries are smashing together.
we're just like on call. What are we gonna do?
I think your BlackBerry gave my BlackBerry a virus.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that I was worried about with that job is like this person and I used to IM through the BlackBerry app, and like, well, we don't know if anybody from IT ever read our shit, especially because this one guy from IT, this fucking dork, fucking loved her. And was like, he's probably seeing me talk about like fucking her or whatever.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just like, you know, whatever. That guy lives with that knowledge, but he never got that pussy. So fuck you.
IT knows all.
Yeah.
That's why you gotta be nice to people that are good at tech because they will absolutely use it against you. That's like, you gotta be careful. If there's someone you know that's vindictive and they're also very good at computers, careful.
It's true. It's dangerous.
Yeah. I mean, look at the FBI.
They're not even that good at computers.
Yeah.
They're better than me at it.
That's fair.
Yeah. So I mean, I wish I had a more salacious aspect to this, and I mean, you could tell by listening to the remarks that I've had that I grew up fairly prudish in that regard. So, which I mean is a good testament to my parents because I don't have AIDS. And my life is fine. No matter how hard I've tried to screw it up by making all the bad decisions I have, I still had a decent enough moral compass, I guess, to not fuck up. Never fucked anybody over in a bad way.
This would be a great Easter podcast, right? We're just a little late on it. We really covered a lot of Easter
Just
topics.
a bit. What's is there like? Let's see. So Easter is when
Ramadan.
Jesus came back, right? Easter is 3 days later.
He died on Friday.
Good Friday,
dead,
and then Easter
and he came
Sunday
back.
comes back. And then did that even happen during this time of year? Or is that one of those holidays where they moved it to compete with some pagan?
There's
thing?
no way of knowing.
Again,
If it happened at all,
Yeah.
right?
no,
Obviously.
again, this is a Crusades thing where in order to, so like in the Europe, they always went by the winter solstice and the spring equinox and whatnot. And so in order to get people to convert away from like their
Right, that's what
natural,
I
like,
was saying.
pagan
They-
things,
Yeah,
they had to match it up because it's not true. Like I mean, like whether or not the Jesus thing, whatever, but like the actual like it being a part of spring like that. Like Jesus was born in a barn in September. You know what I mean? It's just like we have Christmas in the fourth quarter in America because we need to get the economy up before the end of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
God bless it.
Have you guys ever done a show for like a religious crowd?
Yes.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, in Charleston, I did that Jewish Community Center over in West Ashley. Was the first time I ever did anything, and everybody was like surprised I got booked for it. I don't know why. It's not like I was like anti-Semitic or whatever, but I think they were like, oh, I think it's more like they need clean comedy. And I was in my still like first couple years in of like doing jokes that are either absurdist or like gross to be gross or outrageous to be whatever. Not like gross, not like some people we know. But I actually ended up crushing. And like I was like, yeah, fuck you guys. Yeah. I can do this shit.
My name is Derek Humphrey, and Jews fucking love me.
Yeah, that's right. I even ate all their locks, and they still fucking loved me. You could pay me in locks, that's for sure. Bagels and fucking locks.
I did a show for a Jewish old folks group, and it was so much like in comedy bucks locally, it was like $1 million. It was like $100. I was like, holy shit, I got to do this. And it was a group of old people, and it was the weirdest crowd. Like I couldn't tell how it was going. Like I got a couple laughs, and I just got the fuck out. And it was
And you'll never know.
yeah, they're all dead.
They took it straight to the grave.
Exactly.
Oh, man, there was one. Oh, and I did one when I first moved up here. I'm in at a lodge in Pennsylvania with Evan Burke. There was some like, I think it was like a Christian group, like youth group or whatever.
Oh my
And
god.
they booked us for like some kind of like thing or whatever. And it was actually fun. I made fun of like a girl for being loose and and like being an attention whore. And they were super laid back and super funny.
I did a improv show once at I think they were either Orthodox or maybe even Hasidic, some sort of event. I can't remember what it was, to be honest. I just remember that this connects to the inbreeding thing we were talking about earlier, that a very large percentage of these kids had serious disabilities.
Oh my god.
And the show went fine. And then I remember afterwards I was describing it to somebody, and I had used the word defective to describe a portion of the audience, and somebody was very upset with me for using that word to describe human beings. But I think it's not that nice. But in like comedic hyperbola, it's not incorrect.
You're not like calling them a waste of space or something.
Yeah, I mean, you could do that and heighten it for comedic purposes, but even that defective, I mean, they're called birth defects, right? So it's something that has a defect is defective. I get it's not the nicest thing, but felt funny at the time.
The Bushwick Bears do not stand by Boris's description of these people.
I'm just talking logistics here. It's not a moral or character
They
judgment.
They like clap their lobster hands for you. I have a foot deformity or a defect, as Boris would say, and I have toe thumbs. So I approve. You can
there you
You
go.
can use me as your one friend. That
Well, I
Yeah.
have a brother-in-law also that is autistic.
Ah.
So I married into a justification for my behavior.
I'm perfect. So yeah, I'd like the thing about like playing to churches though is the last thing I guess point I want to make about that was like you could play churches as a comedian, and if you can work clean and you can get in with that
It's a
circuit,
huge asset.
they pay so much fucking
God,
money.
so much money.
I mean, millions and millions of fucking dollars over the course of the year. Like, one of my favorite comics does that circuit, and he's really fucking great. He's a really funny guy, and they take care of him, you know. And like, he's gonna put his kids through school and pay his house and everything. So like, I mean, I guess that's a form of fellowship and whatnot. They take care of their own in some capacity.
But then the problem with like any kind of religious performance that's like a secular performance that's happening in the church is there's always this moment in the night where they want you to like bring it down and like, you know, but guys, all these jokes aside, you know, what's really matter, you know, that kind of moment.
Right.
And
Yeah.
if you don't believe, that would be a hard thing to
Yeah.
do.
Wait, we have a friend who is Catholic, but he plays to Muslim audiences.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, and that's got to be an interesting dynamic, and I think it's really cool that he was able to like find that particular niche and whatnot, because like that's something I could never fucking think of, you know what I mean? But like, there's such like an interesting translation of that person's view of religion and it having overlap and congruency with like something that's supposed to be on paper in opposition to it.
That's kind of funny that you could just like pick a niche that you're not even really a part of. Like if I just started becoming the comedian for dentists,
Yes.
and like I'm not a dentist, but I play dentist rooms, and
Right,
I
yeah.
I got a whole following, got a couple videos with millions of views, all from dentists, and
I would love to play JCCs. I think I could write, I mean, like probably a good 10 to 15 minutes about not being Jewish and like how, like self-deprecating, like in a self-deprecating manner. Like I don't think it's I don't think it's a problem at all to like play to these sort of people and to perform for
no,
them.
it's great to find your niche or to find any niche that can create a career.
Also, like if you're a good comic, you should be able to
Play to whoever.
play to whoever to some extent.
But you know, some subcultures are harder to work with. Like, for as much as there's this huge megalith, is that the word of like, you know, jujitsu, comedy. That's like so many podcasts, whatever. Anytime I've had my jujitsu friends like at a comedy show, they're the worst. They just like I like them as people, but they bunch up into the crowd and then they make up their own mind. You know, like when there's a crowd and there's like two minds in the crowd. They have their own like little weird opinion and they're just like tight. And because they look physically intimidating, all the nerds are scared too. It's tough. It's like doing a room for bouncers or something.
Yeah, no, I get that for sure. And especially if they're like people for like who know you and they know you in one context and then they have to look at you differently.
That's it.
It's a good challenge though, because those are the type of people why you might develop humor as a defense mechanism. If you're not the fighting type, you're like, you're why I started doing comedy, because if I made you laugh, maybe you wouldn't kick my ass.
Yes. That's right. You'd fight me. Yeah.
Well, I'd say as far as the crime, we don't even know if it's a real crime. I'm sure it is.
Sex in a
It's
church.
It's
Yes.
trespassing.
I had a key.
guessing.
I had a
Oh
key.
yeah. Lewd act in a public place.
It was private. There was no one there.
Could
good
you
point.
even get?
But they could potentially. Well, I guess they would just revoke access.
This is the only evidence that this crime existed. So I'm gonna need y'all to just delete this.
We're gonna send this audio file directly to the church.
Just send it to every church in town.
We're uploading this to God's cloud.
Better change those locks.
Yeah. So as far as the actual like crime of it, I mean, it's as far as it being a crime, if it really is one, 0 out of 5. I mean, whatever. Who gives a shit? As a slight against yourself and God, 5 out of 5.
So we just did criminal speeding earlier, and I gave that 2 out of 5 bears, and I think I give this 2 out of 5 bears. I'm gonna hold this equivalent to speeding, where like, listen, we can't just say go have at it because we can't have everybody fucking in the churches. What do we do then?
Yeah.
But if you can get away with it, you didn't hurt nobody, then you know what we don't know don't kill us.
It's a victimless crime.
Yeah, truly.
This time it was.
This time it was.
Yeah. So what's your? I guess we had to ask you your rating. I never explained that.
We don't explain it, but
We
you
don't
know,
ever
there's
explain it,
no
sorry.
official rules. It's whatever you want to rate it.
I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5 because I don't think there's any moral component to it, but the damage something happened, if someone walked in and saw me fucking somebody in like a priest chair, doggy style, like I think like reputation damage would have been 100 out of 5.
Whereas, is there no moral component to doing something where if somebody doesn't know, it doesn't hurt them, but if they did know, you know for a fact that they would mind?
Yes, I think there's. Well, I mean, if it was my house and someone broke into it and fucked in it, I'd be really mad.
Yeah.
But if it was my friend and I gave him a key to my house and they fucked in it one time and he never told me about it, I'd be okay.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true
exactly.
too. Yeah.
But if he told me, I'd just be like, man, all right.
But if your house was a church.
But if my house was the Lord's house, then maybe.
All right. 2 out of 5 bears. Joseph Coker, where can people find you?
Whatever's the worst open mic and this podcast.
There you have it, folks. Bushwick Bears Petty Crime Review.
Hell yeah.
Boo!